Hello, everyone, and welcome to NSTA Web Seminars, where you find live interactive learning at your desktop. My name is Flavio Mendez, and I will be moderating today's program. Don Boonstra is online with us to provide technical support. Today's seminar is titled Industry-Based Artificial Intelligence STEM Program in Your Classroom. This seminar is sponsored by Milestone C and STEMI. Presenting are Dave Cornelius and Maureen Trashel. But before we begin, let's go over NSTA virtual program norms. The National Science Teaching Association strongly supports diversity, equity, and inclusion in the classroom and in all of our programs. We are committed to providing a welcoming, safe, productive, harassment-free environment for all participants of our events and programs, regardless of their gender, gender identity, sexual orientation, ability, ethnicity, race, color, age, marital status, veteran status, socioeconomic status, or religion. We ask that all attendees be mindful of their surroundings and of their fellow participants. All participants are expected to exercise consideration and respect in their speech and actions and to refrain from demeaning, discriminatory, or harassing behavior and speech. NSTA does not allow promotion of other products in our chats during web seminars. We ask that attendees keep the conversation on topic, use positive language, and remain courteous of others throughout the event, and allow everyone time to participate in the chat. It is now my honor to introduce our presenters tonight, Dave Cornelius and Maureen Trashel. Dave jumped into entrepreneurship in the education industry, running after school and summer camps, evolved into being a full-time classroom teacher, and is now a well-rounded STEM educator who loves sharing his experiences and teaching others. Before education, Dave worked in both large and small engineering companies, holding a variety of positions, including leadership level. His career was cross-disciplinary in electrical, pneumatics, hydraulic systems, design, and manufacturing. Dave supported production, prototype, and development programs throughout his engineering career. Maureen Trashel has over 15 years of experience mentoring youth in summer science camps, where he designed and delivered project-based STEAM learning programs to elementary and high school students. During his studies, Trashel co-founded a student EdTech organization where he oversaw and the launching of one of the first MOOCs in Europe. In 2016, he continued to follow his passion and founded STEMI with the vision of creating an ecosystem for connecting schools with the tech industry. STEMI and STEM programs are present on 300 plus schools in Europe and in the United States in 15 states. Speaking first now today is Dave Cornelius. Welcome, David.
Oh, there we go. Thanks, Flavio. So first, thank you to Flavio and NSTA and Don for helping us deliver this program. We want to start today off with giving you guys a high level of the two topics you'll see throughout today's discussion. First one being STEM Wave. So we'll define what that is and what we're working on in this project. And then AI in the classroom. So we'll talk about what that looks like and the forms it can take. So the STEM Wave project, we get asked all the time, why are you trying to do this? What are you thinking? What are you seeing out there? So being that we're a mix of educators and folks from industry, we are working to build through this STEM Wave project a better connection between tech industry and education. We know that there's a skills gap. We're trying to decrease that. We're trying to build up our talent so that the tech industry has youth that is coming in savvy and coming in skilled. We also want students to better see themselves in those careers, understand the different paths they can take. So we want to bring real engineers and technicians and mechanics and to them in the classroom so they can see that early on in life before they go through their entire school and into a career that they're not quite sure what they're getting into. As everyone I'm sure knows, the future will only be further dominated by tech. So this will become more and more integrated in our lives. We think it's maxed out today, but it will only get more and more ingrained in what we do. So we want students to do meaningful and create the tech instead of just be consumers of it. So that's the STEM Wave project. Those are the big goals that we are trying to accomplish. Artificial intelligence. So why do we focus on it? It's all around us. We may not quite realize all the ways. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but it is inescapable these days. And that's ever increasing, and every industry is bringing in AI to help them do what they need to do. Do we really know how it works? So I pay attention to this. I study it. I think I understand it. And then I read another article about something else they're doing, and I scratch my head a little bit. I'm like, man, how does that really work? So it's new for all of us. So it's something that we have to study and learn, and then bring to the young folks of today, and get them understanding what AI is and what it's doing and what it's not doing and where it's trying to go. AI can make our lives better, and we want to keep it going. We want to keep building on that, and how to make things more convenient, make AI help predict everything that's going on in our lives. And that way we can harness that technology to make our lives better. All right, so I'll poll the audience. So those of you, please respond in the chat. Name some ways AI influences your life. So, right, we all have different ways that it does, and we're going to look at some of those. So go ahead and let me know ways that influences our life. The one that I found super interesting and kind of a little bit mind-blowing is when we look at Netflix, the ratings that I see and you see and the other person sees, they're actually different ratings depending on who you are, what your profile is. So if I see a movie that Netflix knows I like, the rating will be higher than something that you may not like. So the star rating actually changes, not just what it recommends it, but the rating that it shows. So I always found that one a little bit odd, that the stars are not equal across everyone's view. So in the chat, I'm seeing Alexa. Alexa is, I saw a commercial the other night that it's now, Alexa is integrated into, I think Buick's was the company. So you can tell Alexa to start your car now. Music streams, absolutely. All your different music apps. I'm seeing vacuums, right? The Roombas, those used to be, they were kind of a joke early on, and now they're pretty capable. Dylan mentioned Google. So yeah, Google results are very interesting. Not only does it depend on who you are, where you are, but also what else you've searched before, what other data is on that computer. It can really change those Google results. So there's algorithms and AI working through that all the time. I'm skipping over a few of these, but yeah, smart searches, smart devices, those are everywhere. Social media is mentioned. Social media, that's all driven, right? The goal of social media is keep your eyeballs on it, keep you reading it. They do that really well through AI and algorithms. Let's see what else. Smart appliances. This one, yeah, my washer and dryer are Wi-Fi capable. I'm not sure why, but they are. I haven't hooked them up because I think somebody's got to be there to move the clothes around. But my dryer and washer are smart now. So, all right. So let's jump into a few of them that we'll bring up. So one that wasn't mentioned, self-driving cars. These are getting really interesting to me. They're starting to park, do cruise control has always been around, but it's getting to be smart cruise control where it measures that distance. You have lane detection change, so accidental lane change. You have smart braking. So all these little pieces are coming together, eventually getting to that self-driving car. Now, that's a tough jump, but I think we're working on that. Language translation, this is a really interesting one, and we'll touch on that in our program a little bit. Some of the frameworks that are used there where Google Translate's pretty good these days. I mentioned the Netflix one. We mentioned Alexa and Google and Siri. Medical diagnosis is interesting. They're looking at x-rays, and they're finding that AI is better at seeing the differences in x-rays and little problems in x-rays, in some cases better than humans. So they're starting to train AI to look at different medical diagnoses and be able to help doctors do that. Spam detection is one, and also fraud detection is another, that, those millions and millions of emails and bank transactions, and somehow these algorithms sort out what's good and bad. Not perfectly, as we know. I check, my spam folder and find good emails in there, but they're doing a pretty good job. So these are all the ways, and it's only going to increase, right? So we need to teach this to students of today. So let's define what AI is. So AI is a system that can interpret external data and learn from that data, and then use what it learned, with that acquired knowledge, to solve specific tasks. So it's technically narrow AI, right? General AI is something that we have general knowledge. Our brains work very well at that. All the AI we're looking at right now is great at specific tasks. So it's a computer system that can perform tasks. Now, here is a mini breakdown of the different fields of AI. So we have intelligent robotics. I'm sure you all have seen the Boston Dynamic robots, right, dancing around, a little scary. Reminds me a little bit of Terminator, but they're also doing some neat things. Machine perception, machine vision. That's something that if you read up on what Tesla was originally trying to do, they're trying to have basically a machine run factory, and machine perception, machine vision is what limited them a lot early on. Machine learning, that's a huge topic in itself. Natural language processing, that is where we're trying to, obviously our chatbots we're going to talk about today, but also things like Google Translate run on that. Knowledge representation, reasoning, so looking at big data, so trying to understand what big data is doing, and looking at trends in that data. And automated planning, so starting to help you do things. I know my Waze and Google Maps, I get in my car at a certain time and it asks me, oh, are you going here? Like, yeah, I am, thanks. And I just hit go. So so they're getting predictive, trying to help us plan things out and help other systems plan out what those systems need to accomplish. So so that's what AI is. Now, how does AI learn, right? We said learn, and that's sometimes, you go back 20, 30 years, that was a foreign topic. Machines can't learn, they do what we tell them to do. Well, that's a little bit different these days. So let's talk about how you teach a child to learn. So I have a 4- and 6-year-old, so I'm going through, we're past numbers, but now we're doing letters and words. So I show them what a 3 is, right? I show them all these examples, different ones. I show them all the numbers, all the letters, and I explain to them, hey, this is a 3 and this is not a 3, right? That is what I try to do. So you introduce what is the thing you want them to recognize and what's not. So when I show them that 3, they say, oh, that looks just like it. It's a 3, and that's a 0. Now, our brains are very good at being flexible. It doesn't have to be the same exact 3, it doesn't have to be the same exact 0, but human brains are very good at that. Now we test children. We say, hey, show them an 8, show them a 9, show them a 33. Do they recognize that, hey, that 3 makes up that 33? That's how they build up their knowledge. Now, machines learn a little bit different. We give them examples, just like we do with children, just like we do with adults when they're learning something new. So on the left there, we give them examples, and the machines, the AI, puts them into classes and labels them. So 0s mean not a 3, and 1s mean a 3. So we give all that data. The algorithms work on it. They crunch on it. We test them on it. And then you give them unseen examples. So now instead of a black square with a white 3, we give it a white square with a black 3. Now, if it's a good model, a good AI, it will predict that is a 3. If it's not a good AI, then it's not doing its job. It will inaccurately predict that. And the better they get, the better they are at their job, the more accurate they are in that prediction. So we feed AI data. We teach AI to look at that. And a lot of times the key to today's AI versus in the past is the machines teach themselves. And then now you can feed it new data and it predicts it correctly. So how to teach AI in the classroom, right? I just gave you guys a very simplistic overview of a super complex topic that I myself, who pay attention to this, am continuously learning because it's moving so quickly. So the challenge is we want to engage the students, right? These days, engagement is paramount. When I was in high school, I didn't have my smartphone. I didn't have Netflix. I didn't have social media. So I was a little bit more willing to engage with, let's say, some boring content from my teachers. These days, engagement is key. So we talk about enhanced engagement. That's where we start with. So it needs to be engaging to the students. There's a lot of ways to do that. One specific way is make it personal, make it unique, make them actually do something. And that's where we focus. So how do you engage students with that complex topic? What we do is we guide the students through an AI chatbot development. So they actually build their own chatbot. We see chatbots on websites. Some of you, I'm sure, have run into some bad ones. I was trying to use a chatbot on an airline a couple months back. It was the worst thing I've ever done. I only did it because the wait was so long to call them. So, and then I've used some chatbots that are super helpful and, answered my question about 30 seconds and I moved on. So, there's kind of some old school chatbots out there that are not very useful. And then the new age ones are much better because they're not hard coded. They're an AI chatbot. So how we engage students, as I mentioned, each chatbot is unique. That student is building their own chatbot with their own purpose defined. We run our programs, our AI programs, our robotics programs, drones, engineering, all the different topics we focus on. We look for a low floor, so every student can do it. They don't need to be, a high level calculus kind of student. It's a low entry level and then a high ceiling. So those students that have seen, know 3 coding languages, they can still take this program and learn something from it and be engaged with it. So we look for a high ceiling. And then the other really big thing is make it relevant to the world around them. The world around them is very different than the school environment, very different than the college environment. We want the students to see that connection to the real world. So that's one of our these are our 3 big tenets when we look at our programs of why students engage and why they love it. So here is a look at what the program progression is. So we introduce chatbots, talk about natural language processing. They start to learn about designing, a little bit of flow diagram kind of discussion. They do their coding. This is an example with the coding version of the program, so focused on high school students. And we'll mention in a minute, we have some other versions that are more for those entry-level students. We look at chatbot architecture, look at machine learning, design thinking, and then they have their unique projects. So they're doing work all throughout, guided to build up that foundation of skills. And then they're going to develop their own project at the tail end. So let's talk a little more about chatbots. We talked about AI, talked about the program includes chatbots, but what really are chatbots and why are they used? So the goal of chatbots, though some of them, as I mentioned, do it pretty poorly, is to simulate real human conversation. Many of them are pretty good at this these days, especially if you stay within their focus area. But if you ask it, we'll say silly questions, a lot of times they get stumped and they go, I don't understand, and they ask a question back, or they give you a menu. So some of them are pretty good, some of them are still struggling, but the whole idea is to simulate human language. And when you do that, you have to understand what humans are saying and try to assign meaning to that. Chatbots are used in industry for a variety of reasons. The big ones are it's very efficient. So for quick queries, for simple questions, chatbots are very good at giving those answers. So instead of having to call somebody and say, what are your hours, or look for it on a website and find that right click, you just ask the chatbot that's on every page of your website. Really good at doing that. It reduces waiting time for those kind of responses if you're calling. It's also available all day, every day. So businesses love it from that perspective. And then it's scalable. So instead of having 100 customer service folks, you might be able to have 10 customer service folks, and then a few folks supporting your AI chatbot. And now you can run that chatbot with millions of users. So from a business perspective, it's a great way to do it. I see folks are asking questions. I'll address all these at the end. So as I mentioned, there's some bad chatbots. That airline one that I was asking, and that's typically a rule-based chatbot. Rule-based means it's hard-coded. It's looking for patterns in your words, and it's giving responses to those patterns. So if you say something like address, it will guess that you want to know the business's address. AI powered is different. AI powered is looking for intent. So if I say, where's the restaurant? It looks for where, and it says, oh, I'm looking for an address. So it makes that jump. And what that means is it's better at its job because I don't have to spell things out for it. It jumps in and really assigns an intent to what I'm asking and then responds to that intent with using a database of human language and how human language is structured. So let's give an example. An AI chatbot. So the building blocks, you have a natural language understanding system. So I'll ask it, what's the temperature in Houston? And it detects my intent. And then it says, okay, here's the response. At the moment, it's 77 degrees. So it could just say 77 degrees, but that's not how we talk. So it wants to talk like a human and also understand what I'm asking for. I could have also said, how warm is it in Houston? And so I'm not specifically saying temperature, but it's still, if it's a good chatbot, it will understand what I'm asking and give me a similar response. So our challenge, the next one is, so let's say we bring AI into the classroom, we're discussing complex topics, we give them a solid foundation to engage with, and then they're personalizing that later on once they build up those skills. But not all students are into coding. So I was one of those students. I've taken coding. I didn't like it. It's too single task, individual, and to me it takes too long. I get bored of it. So I took it, I understood it, I can fake it, I can teach to students, but I never liked it. And I'm a tech-minded person, so I can imagine many students, they're not that into coding. So we developed a coding version of the program, typically for high school students, though I've seen a lot of middle school students that are getting pretty savvy, knowing a few coding languages at this point. We also have a low code version and then a no code version with a drag and drop chatbot development. The no code version typically recommend for middle school students. And then the low code version can be anywhere in between, depending how you want to use the program. We'll actually give you a quick view of that no code program today. This is answers. That's the low code or the no code version, drag and drop kind of coding. Maren will give you guys a quick tutorial of that, and we'll show you that in just a minute. So InfoBip, so as Flavio had mentioned, this program is brought to you by STEMI and Milestone C. We're partners in the programs we run. We are working with InfoBip. They're our industry partner. And what they're doing is they're sponsoring these programs that we're implementing with schools. So they're a global leader in communication. If you've been, so their customers, Facebook, Uber, LG, Burger King, right? The titans, the names that we know. They're present in 65 countries, so they're a worldwide company. Their technology is in the background of a lot of the stuff we use. They're communication specialists. So if you have a great portal with lots of channels of communication, it's likely some of their technology doing that. A lot of the chatbots we use every day are their technology in the background running those chatbots. So it's a great industry partner. And this is our, as Maren will explain, this is our first step towards bringing that industry and education connection to the next level. So RASA framework. So we talked a little bit about AI. We talked about these natural language processing. I kept using that term. So RASA framework is the industry standard for that. It's an open source framework that all the virtual assistants and the chatbots are using. So that is the, we'll say, how that machine can speak like a human as it's pulling from that RASA framework. So you can see all the folks there that are using that and using it to their benefit. And it's a rabbit hole you can go down to learn about how that framework works and the different levels to it and where they're trying to bring it. That's some of those articles that I read where I'm like, where are they trying to go? It's really interesting stuff. So now I'll turn it over to Marin to walk us through what they've done with STEMWave already in Croatia and Europe. And he'll tell you about the successes and what they've done there.
Thanks, Dave. Hello, everyone. My name is Marin, and I'm the founder and CEO of the edtech company STEMI. We are a company based in Croatia, which is part of the European Union, next to Italy. If there are any Game of Thrones fans here, you will know that King's Landing is in fact in Croatia, in a city called Dubrovnik. But right now, I would like to present you a global initiative, STEMWave, which we are piloting in the US this fall. Let me switch to the slide. Okay. Oops. So when we started this project last year in Croatia, with the goal of creating schools of the future. And the name might sound fancy, but first we needed to ask ourselves what is a school of the future, what it looks like, and how do we create it. What we truly believe in, that the answer to this question is not in a group of experts, but it lies rather in every teacher, in every student, parent, and even in the tech industry as one of the key stakeholders in educational process. So we see the solution in collaboration. That's why we started this project really to build a direct bridge between schools and the tech industry, and start creating different experiences on our education experience platform. Okay, next slide. So, sorry about that. Key step in the process is creating a community of teachers that want to drive the change, and our job is to serve them. When we were building our AI program, we included teachers, both teachers and students, into design process. We were building the program actually while it was being used in the classroom in the real time. And we included over 150 teachers and over 1,000 students into design process. So all of them made their contributions to create something that it's a truly unique experience. So they were the ones who created the curriculum and educational content. And along with our industry partner, Infobip. So we like to say our programs are built by teachers, for the teachers, with the help of the industry. And when Dave mentioned earlier and showed you our approach and what the program looks like. And what we try to do is to bring real Infobip engineers into the classroom. So we did this in Croatia. We brought them into a curriculum in form of digital video lessons, so students can see themselves in their stories. Infobip engineers were explaining important concepts. They were sharing their life stories and showing kids what the life of engineer looks like. And right now we are working on bringing also US engineers into your classrooms. Yeah, so Sue made a great comment that she loved the inclusion of women. What we also believe that kids need to see that engineering, science, and technology is not only for boys, but that girls are often much better than boys if they get the chance to show their talent. And yeah, so I've mentioned there were 1,000 students in the projects. Our programs are built around teamwork. So those students formed over 140 teams across 60 schools. And we were teaching them design thinking methodology to come up with the AI solution for their local community. But they needed to develop a solution that will help reach UN Sustainable Development Goals. And here on this graph, you can see in which topics creation students are interested in. So they care about the climate change, good health and well-being, obviously because of the COVID, affordable and clean energy, and so on. So when we are designing our programs, we always try to think how to teach kids technology to do social good and to inspire them to solve global problems. Okay. And when we talk about designing experiences, one important activity is building a human connection between students and real-life engineers. And here on the picture, you can see how we do it. When students are working on their solutions, we pair them with mentors from the industry who give them online consultations, and they help them achieve really great results, build functional products that can be implemented in digital environments, whether it's a website or Facebook or any other channel. So we build a network of industry partners, and their employees actually share their knowledge and help students to really build great stuff. And usually when I'm giving talks, I like to be a little provocative and say that in education, or let's say in schools, we would accomplish better educational results if there were less teaching in the classroom. So what I mean by them is that we see the role of a teacher in school of the future is being transformed from a lecturer into mentor. So we see that teachers should more ask questions and less give answers. So today we can use technology for the process of knowledge transfer, but computers will never be able to compensate, at least not in the near future, if you ask me, that the human touch that is crucial for igniting passion. So we want to enable a teacher to deliver personalized classes and to spend more time in mentoring and inspiring kids and igniting passion. And that's where our education experience platform comes in. Basically, both teachers and students get access to the platform where they can find all the learning materials, teacher guides, student handouts, rubrics, assessments, and even online coding environment. So we want to basically create a classroom that goes beyond the physical walls, where students can learn whenever they want at their own pace. This is an example of what a typical lesson looks like. And the idea is that the platform is guiding students through the whole collaborative learning experience. Teachers, on the other hand, have all the tools they need for preparing, delivering, and even evaluating classes. So minimizing your administrative tasks and classroom preparation means more time for you to focus on what matters the most. And we think that student learning and engagement is the key, where you should spend most of your time in the classroom. I've mentioned earlier that we include both teachers and students into design process. And in the process of the designing whole experience. So after each lesson, we ask students for their feedback. We ask them how they felt, how hard was the lesson. We check data, how much time they spent on the exercise, whether they solved it or not. And based on data, we use the data to continuously improve the whole experience. And after 2 iterations of the program right now, we are proud to say that we have reached a really high level of engagement. Over 80% of impressions are excited, inspired, or mind-blowing, and boredom is almost not existing in our classrooms. And finally, when every teacher that becomes part of our community gets support from our engineers and educators to the chat in the real time. They can interact with us or other members of the community. We basically want teachers to feel that they are not alone in their classrooms, and help is basically only few clicks away through our STEMI chat real-time communication tool. And yeah, this is for my part now, and I'll leave it to Dave to tell you more about the STEM wave that's starting in the US.
All right, thanks, Marin. So Marin just covered, what they've done in Croatia and Europe with their schools, right? 60 schools with tons of awesome chatbot that the students created. So we're now bringing that to the US. So we're bringing STEMwave into the US, partnered with InfoBip and STEMI. Marin showed you the LMS. We'll show you that answers tool in just a minute. So we have 30 slots. Those are filling up. So if anybody's interested, please let us know relatively quickly. And the goal is to bring on these schools, have them experience the program, provide that feedback that we always love and that we take seriously, and we rapidly evolve our programs to fit the needs of teachers and students and schools. We've adapted the project to the US. We find that students like to make things much more personal. STEMI did the UN Sustainable Goals. We changed the project, the narrative of the project, and the focus to be the students are actually building a chatbot for their school website. So it's something that they can actually see implemented on their school website. So not only is that a driving force where they're going to compete with each other, and they know their peers are going to see their chatbot, which during that competition piece that the kids really get some great work done when they know their peers are going to see it. They're competing for the best chatbot. So we'll select the best chatbots, and the schools can put that on their website for people to use. An example could be, hey, it's a sports chatbot. So it's talking only about the sports schedules for all the high school teams, since that's such a confusing topic. Or they could try to develop a chatbot that's all encompassing for their high school, which that would be a lot of work to me, but some of these kids are pretty ambitious. This is an example of the chatbot that was on a school website. And so the idea here is the students would be able to implement this. The school can pull it onto the website once the kids are done with their projects and see it in real life. So it's showcasing the students' work, giving them that sense of accomplishment, and it's actually being implemented in the real world. Now, what comes with that? Because there's a few points that we know that are tough nuts for schools to crack. So the first one is teachers were not trained in this. Never mind the fact that the engineers are not trained in this unless you're in school right now. So everybody's having to learn this. So we have robust teacher training and support. So it's both workshop style training where you learn the curriculum as our student, and then it's also continuous coaching. So we coach you through things, we talk with you, we do warm-up training, and we integrate ourselves with, if you're the teacher, with you, or if you're in schools, with your teachers. So we integrate ourselves, we talk with them, we ask them to chat with us on the portal, email with us, text us, call us, right? We want teachers to not feel like they're on an island, which is something that with this technology, it's a little scary when it's brand new. We also bring, number two there, we bring industry experts to the students. That's both through the curriculum where they're seeing themselves in those people, they're hearing those life stories, and it's also live. We have a huge network of folks that love to integrate with schools, love to talk with them. A silver lining of the pandemic is that the schools now are able to let us Zoom call in. So it's a nice feature that now somebody from a company can just call in on their lunch break and talk with all the students. So it's a really silver lining that we have seen this year start getting used really heavily. The plug and play curriculum, you guys heard all about it. You saw that example of the thread of the curriculum. So that is provided to you. The classroom materials. So in this case, it's software seats for those development tools. In the case of robotics or drones, it's all the equipment that goes with that. The classroom materials are all the teacher guides, things like that. And then you also have the chatbot building platforms. And then prizes. The prizes, we're going to look at the best chatbots and reward the students. Not just it's the best chatbot, but most innovative, most out of the box, right? And most creative. And we're going to look at those and reward the students for their work. So not necessarily the same student that got their chatbot on their school website, but then we want to reward a lot of the students with what they're doing and show them that industry is watching and industry wants them to learn this, and then they can go find a career in some interesting topics, interesting companies. So the project timeline, we're in June, right? June 1st, it snuck up on me. So we're in June and we're exploring this with everybody. We're bringing awareness to the project. In July, we'll select the participants. So, and we'll select those 30 schools to come join us in this program. In August to October, we'll train the teachers. So if you're a school that starts up early and you want the training up front, we'll do that in August. If you're a school that says, hey, we want to wait till we're back in session and we'll get training in the fall, that works for us too. We're very flexible with that. And then at the end of the project in June and also in January, we'll look at the projects, we'll look at the chatbots and work with the schools on what can be added to the websites and which schools we want to recognize or which students we want to recognize for their efforts. So let me turn it over back to Marin before we jump to here, and he'll give us a quick demo of the answers tool, which is the no-code version of the chatbot builder.
Okay, my screen should be visible right now. Here you can see our education experience platform, what it looks like, one virtual classroom. The whole curriculum is divided into 6 units. Introduction to chatbots, then we talk about what is the AI, how to design a conversation for a chatbot. Then you can choose creating a chatbot in InfoBip industry solution answers, which I will show you, or you can create a chatbot using a framework RASA. We also have supplemental materials for introduction to Python, which is designed for self-paced. So if you have students that want to learn on their own at home Python programming. They have here a bunch of lessons from variable to classes, basically, and the system is evaluating automatically the code that the student submits. And then we have also a unit that is focused on career in STEM field, where we describe to kids what engineering looks like, what working in IT looks like, so they can even plan their future careers. I'll show you an example what one lesson looks like. Here we start with building a chatbot in Answers, and you have step-by-step tutorials for students what they need to do, and for teacher guides how to organize the class. You can go to the next page. We have videos or even animations that are really showing everything that kids need to do. And when kids are done, they click complete. As I said, we ask them how they felt, and I'll say I was inspired. It was not that hard. And I can even write the feedback, which we read and then implement into improvement of our program. And I click send and transition to the next lesson. So for middle school version of the program, we are using the industry standard for building chatbots from Infobip. Infobip is the global communication platform leader in business communication, and one of their solution is drag and drop interface for building chatbots. How you build a chatbot? You can do it without writing any code. You have blocks on the right, like Scratch, for example, and you just pick a block and you drag it on the screen. I'll delete it right now. Then this is AI-powered chatbot, so you can define intents. For example, when a customer wants to order food, we can define the different phrases. How can a person write that they're hungry or they want to order something, and then kids build different dialogues. When they're done with their work or at any given moment, they can open a simulator and they can test out what they've just built. I'll write hi, and yeah, the chatbot will say hi back. I'm Cheesy. What's your name? I'll write my name is Marin, and he greets me. I'll say I am hungry, and the chatbot, it's PizzaBot for pizza place chatbot, and he recognized that I want to order food, and then he asked me what do I want to order, and so on. This is what it's typically being used in middle schools, but in your class you can have more advanced students that love coding, and or even in high school, and for them we have built a solution where they can do more coding. This is built on Rasa open source framework. On the left, you have different files which you can edit. So, for example, here we edit different intents which our chatbot can recognize. For example, different people can greet in different ways. The more example we provide, the better AI model will be able to build, and the chatbot will be able to make better predictions. Then you go and define you write examples of different story paths, and you define different messages which chatbot can write to the user. for more advanced students, we teach them databases. So you can also build your own table, put some data inside, and then writing a Python code. You can read things from the database, write something inside, or you can and you can also connect your chatbot with the different website API and so on. So as Dave said, you can really do basic simple things, or if you have coding ninjas in your classroom, you can do really advanced stuff. And when you're done coding, you can train the model and then test everything in the simulator. So similar like in answers. Okay, I say, hi, my name is Marin, and I'll say I'm interested in solar panels, and then goes the conversation. So the idea why we use AI is so the communication with the chatbot is more natural, so so that we as users can write the sentences, and a chatbot should be able to detect intents. And the last thing that I want to show you is the data from our current session of the program in Croatia. We are doing it right now in 130 schools with 2,000 students and over 300 teachers. And here you can see the data that being bored is less than 10%, which is very challenging to achieve, even below 5% right now, which is very challenging to achieve in digital environment. And kids are mostly excited, inspired, and mind blown by the content. We see how difficult each unit is, each lesson. We check how much time kids are spending on some topic, and then we use this data to iterate on the program, and basically we improve it in the real time. So this was a short demo. I would now ask Don to bring up the slides back, and now give it mic back to Dave.
All right. Thanks, Marin. I'm always like, it's such cool stuff we're teaching these kids, right? I wish I had all this when I was in high school, but none of this tech existed then. So here's how you apply. So I saw that question in the chat. stemwave.education. And when you apply, those emails will come to myself and Marin. So we'll be the ones reaching out, and Slobodan, who's Marin's partner in crime. At this point, so please send us any questions you have in the chat. I took down all the ones that I saw, and I'm jumping back to someone mentioned early on, the Chili's has a robot that is the hostess and delivers the food. So I didn't know that. I got to look that one up and see if it's just one place or if that's becoming widespread. I saw it's like a cleaning robot in the grocery store the other day, and I was like, all right, it's starting to happen. One question I saw was, can this work with middle school students? Yeah, great question. So we have a middle school focused program and a high school focused program. Now I say that with a little caveat. It's really dependent on your students. So I was teaching an after school program this spring, where I had some 7th graders that knew more about coding than I did. Right, and they were great at it. Now it wasn't a coding focused program, but after talking with them, I'm like, wow, these guys have been exposed to a lot, and they're only in 7th grade. So in that case, the kids that we can look at the high school or the code version for your students. How long does the sequence take? Weeks or months? So we build our programs to be somewhat modular. So we target the full semester. And then if you want a full year, we pair our programs together. But we also have a lot of teachers that use it as supplementary content, where they carve out 20 to 30 hours, and what they're let's say a whole semester of 70 to 80 hours, they carve out 20 or 30 hours and use our program, a supplement to what they're already doing. We're happy with either model. We know that some teachers already have something they're supposed to be teaching. An example is at middle school, they always have to do digital citizenship, and then they add our stuff to that. Presentation will be shared and recorded. The link's in the chat. How do we apply? STEMwave.education. One comment I saw was support is key for implementation. That's really big on all the topics that we focus on because they're so new. It's a little scary for teachers because, you know, if you're just given access to this without any background, without the training, without the curriculum, it's tough. I saw that 5 to 10 years ago with 3D printers. They're just plopped on a desk in a classroom and they were good until they broke a little bit or the teacher was scared to touch it. And a lot of them collected dust. These days, those 3D printer companies have realized they have to have support with them. And we know that. What is the cost? It's completely free this year. Follow-on years, the cost breakdown is licensing, software seats, and any additional training and support that you want. So it just depend on how we dial that in with your school. One thing I want to jump back to, Maren mentioned bringing in the US engineers into the curriculum. Not just engineers, we try to look at folks that are inside tech companies. So you could be a marketing person or a finance person in those tech companies. We want to hear how you got to where you are. Could be a technician, a manufacturer, a skilled manufacturer. We bring in folks from all walks. Of course, engineering is key since we are a high tech focused program, but that's how we look at it. I'm looking at the other, there's a question about, are we bilingual? So one really great benefit about our platform is you can translate it, CMS content, so it can be easily translated to other languages for all the text on the screen. We are in the process of developing the content for Spanish for the graphics and videos. So that's a project we're underway. Especially I'm physically in Connecticut. That's a big issue for some of our districts. But as you go down south, especially some of the Texas districts, some of the New Mexico, that it has to be there. So we know that we're in the process of developing that. Let's see. I'm looking at the recent questions. So computer science teachers, computer science teachers are not needed. We see a lot of general science teachers, math teachers, and we provide the training and support that they need. We know that most folks teaching these subjects, whether that's AI, drones, robotics, software, they're not former engineers. They didn't go to school for this stuff. So we scaffold our programs for the teachers and the students, along with our training and support, so that anybody can teach this. In Connecticut, we have a huge shortage of tech ed teachers. So Connecticut has a great program where a certified teacher can get tech ed certified by taking the praxis exam. That's great, you get more tech ed teachers, but they have even less of the background they need. So we had a lot of English teachers getting thrown into our coding courses, our software courses. So it was still a success. We had to provide them extra support, add some more scaffolding, and we did that to help them get there. And next year, I think they'll be a lot more comfortable. The question about training. So we're pretty flexible with training. Our goal is to roll that out between August and October. The goal is that this program is implemented for this coming school year, whether that's the full semester course in the fall or in January, or it's a supplementary piece of a program. And then we're happy to continue in the 2024 school year, 2023, 2024. Good question on student collaboration. So throughout these projects, the students are working with each other. We have each student build their own chatbot, but they are working in groups to understand and develop their ideas. So we ask them to have their teammates and work with them, but we want each of them to build their own chatbot. And then Flavio had a good question. So where do you guys send more questions, or if you want more info? I'm Dave at Milestone C, Slobodan at STEMI.education, or Marin at STEMI.education. So you guys can email us anytime. We're happy to chat, whether about this program specifically, this initiative, or something else. A lot of the questions we're getting are, a lot of schools are looking at pathways. How do you go from not just middle and high school, but into elementary school? And then where is technology going and industry going? So what will my 12th graders be learning in 5 years from now? And that's a tough question to ask. So it's something that's on a lot of schools' minds. At the same time, how do I bring coding into elementary school? I know that some of the districts that are pushing the envelope are starting to introduce Scratch in like 3rd grade. And so, okay, so block coding that we used to do in middle school has to drop down in 5th and 6th grade. So it's an interesting dilemma for schools.
Dave, if I may jump in for a second,
Sure.
There are questions about the collaboration. So I have shown, but in our platform, teachers can easily put the students into groups, and students can work on the same code. They can code the same thing in the real time. Like, for example, they can edit Google Docs document or Google presentation simultaneously in the real time. So we built the tech infrastructure to support collaboration, whether it's in the classroom or they are remote at home. What we've been doing in Croatia right now was we are pairing the schools with NGOs organizations. So schools are actually also building chatbots for NGOs, and we are pairing different schools to work on the same projects. So we want students from different schools to start interacting and collaborating on building solutions. Because if you think about what are important skills to have a successful career in the tech industry, being able to code and collaborate with people from all over the world is one key aspect of it, and that's what we facilitate in our programs. And yes, there was a question regarding can students access both coding and non-coding versions? Absolutely. It's your choice which tool you want to use, which content you want to use. There is a content for a full year, but you can customize it for a semester long or even a quarter long. We are good at doing that very quickly and efficiently. And just to touch base on Siu's comment regarding that. That she wrote that she loves the idea that students are currently create new products, and that's exactly the end goal of our program. So we want to teach kids how to build products from scratch, from idea phase to prototyping, development, and then implementation. And when kids get a chance to build meaningful stuff, they are much more motivated, and they want to show everybody their work. When they're finished building their chatbots, they can publish it also online. Like you can record a video and publish it on YouTube and share with friends. The same thing we enable them to do with the chatbots, so they can come home to their parents, grandparents, and come to, for example, to grandparents. Hey, grandma, look at this chatbot. It's powered by AI, and try talk to it. So when kids go through this journey, they really get that feeling of being happy, proud, and fulfilled that they built something really, really great. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah. So I didn't see any other questions come in. You guys are welcome. Again, it's Dave at milestonec.com, Marin at STEMI.education, or Slobodan at STEMI.education. So we're happy to answer any questions, and we love talking about this stuff. So please don't be shy. With that, Flavio, I think you're going to take over to wrap up.
Well, thank you very much, Dave and Marin. We enjoyed the presentation. And also thanks to Slobodan for helping us with the chat window and answering questions as well. And what I like to do now is go through a few slides and close. So before we do that, okay, we need to thank our presenters for not only the time that they had to share with us about their program, but also about all that time they spend in preparing for today's presentation. So we do appreciate that, and for you guys to be here. And Marin, I understand you're in Croatia right now, correct?
Yeah, that's right. It's 2 in the morning here. So if my English was a bit rusty, I apologize. But
no, that was fantastic, and we appreciate again staying up late. I hope you have a nice breakfast waiting for you after this. But do thank you, and hopefully you guys can join us again for a future program. We want to thank our participants as well. It's important, lots of questions tonight. So we want to thank them for their engagement today, and we encourage them to contact Dave, Marin, Slobodan, visit the website for the opportunities that are available to work with a STEM Wave this next school year, and engage students in coding and all the different opportunities that the company provides. We like your feedback, so be patient, please. We're gonna be presenting you with a URL for a survey after the recording is stopped. So hang in there. The survey and your feedback is important to us, as well as the presenters, of course. And it's also the key for receiving evidence of your participation here tonight with your certificate. So hang in there for a couple more minutes, and we'll be sharing that URL with you shortly. The collection for tonight's presentation has been shared a number of times. We'll share one last time here with everyone. Remember that the collection has all the slides in addition to additional handouts that were provided by Dave and Marin and Slobodan. So do check it out and share with others as well. Again, if this is maybe not for you, do think about colleagues who might be interested in participating. One last time, NSTA offers web seminars on a regular basis, most of them free of charge. If you enjoyed today's presentation, please come back and bring a friend with you. A number of programs are coming up. They're listed here on the screen. Science updates, BookBeat Lives, Transforming Science Learning, and other programs available to you provided via NSTA. It is our pleasure to bring you the latest and greatest in science and science education. And with this slide, we'd like to thank the NSTA virtual learning team for their work and behind the scenes. Thanks for Don, your assistance tonight in the program. And with this slide, we'd like to conclude today's presentation.